If you've been living under a rock, you may not have heard that OpenAI, the parent company behind ChatGPT, just launched its browser called ChatGPT Atlas. I'm Jordan Brannon, president of Coalition Technologies, one of the leading digital marketing agencies in the US with a lot of expertise in SEO and increasingly AI SEO. If you're interested in content like this, our channel covers all things digital marketing, from SEO to pay-per-click to content marketing, email, web design and development, e-commerce, and a lot more. So if you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a future one. OpenAI just launched ChatGPT Atlas. It's a new browser with AI baked in. This is sort of non-news if you do follow AI news at all, because every AI and LLM company out there has been trying to get their own browser out. So everybody expected that ChatGPT would have its own pretty soon, and of course we now do. Atlas is a Chromium-based browser. It's built essentially on the same foundation as Google Chrome. It largely looks like a regular browser, but it runs ChatGPT in a sidebar, and there's actually quite a bit of interplay between what you're doing inside of the browser and what's happening inside of the chat experience and the agent that is helping to interplay between the two. You can get the browser to provide answers to questions, offer summaries, write emails, and in this sort of agentic front, it can control some of your browser activity. It has memory built into it, remembers what you've done, what you visited, so incognito probably gets a little more important for some of you out there. There's also that agent mode, which will be coming, where ChatGPT is going to have a lot more freedom to operate on your behalf, even outside of the page that you're currently looking at. So I think this is interesting because it does show us again that AIs are really not intending to be just a website you visit or an app you occasionally open on your phone. I think they really do want to step further and further back until they're not only a browser, they're also the operating system for whatever device that you're operating in. What is interesting about ChatGPT's launch is the fact that it's available on Mac only right now and only available on Apple Silicon machines. So M1, M2, M3 Macs get it first, but not Windows PCs, not iPhones, not Android. One of the oddest things about this choice is the fact that Microsoft is OpenAI's largest backer in the big tech space. The two had been in bed for a while. Microsoft has poured billions into them. Azure runs the ChatGPT infrastructure. ChatGPT powers Copilot and Bing and parts of Office. Windows has way more users than Mac does on the operating system front, so it just feels pretty intentional on some level that there is this new browser rolling out from ChatGPT. Again, kind of big deal for them, but they've chosen Mac OS instead of Windows and Apple instead of Microsoft for this launch. This sort of prompted me to have the question of what's going on or what's happened to the Microsoft partnership. It sort of feels off lately. In September, Microsoft and OpenAI signed a non-binding agreement to restructure. Maybe that's a bit of foreshadowing for what's happening here. Microsoft has started working with Anthropic and other AI vendors recently as well. So with OpenAI shipping a major new product and it launches first on Apple hardware, kind of feels like there's a signal. Maybe everything's not happy at home. Maybe someone needs to see a therapist. Maybe love is wearing off. OpenAI might need a little bit of breathing room and see what other options might have out in the market. After all, it did jump into the relationship with Microsoft when it was a little bit younger. So looking at why OpenAI may have chosen Mac first, I have a couple of theories. One is that launching on Mac is a lower risk move. I think Mac users are probably more likely to already be OpenAI ChatGPT users. I think they're also more likely to experiment with a new browser. Unlike a lot of Windows users, they're not locked down by corporate IT, and they probably are less loyal to Safari than other users may be to their existing browser technology. On Windows, Chrome is extraordinarily popular and does a good job for most users, and a lot of people have time invested into their bookmarks and their tabs and their experiences with Chrome, and so it just might be harder to displace Chrome users on Windows than Chrome or Safari users or Firefox users on Mac OS. If OpenAI launched on Windows, they might be fighting some uphill battles with IT teams and departments. They might struggle with corporate privacy reviews. After all, an AI agent that retains your interactions and your browser history, funnels that off-site someplace to a third party, is going to raise some red flags, and that could ultimately lead to some bad press. And again, OpenAI just may be running into some of the fact that Microsoft hasn't totally given up on its browsers itself, and Mac might be a little bit more open-handed about Safari. Part of this choice is likely that Safari is weak competition. Mac users might be more open to move, and frankly that they need some win in terms of how many users or what percent of available users adopt it in the early months. So I think it plays out well for OpenAI. I do also think that there is some benefit for Apple as well. Apple gets to say that, hey, we do AI things as well, which has been a big problem if you've tracked Apple over the last 24 months as AI has grown. Apple has really looked irrelevant on the AI front. Apple Intelligence felt like Apple's stupidity. Anybody who has tried to use Siri for anything has been disappointed. It's behind everything and everyone. I mean, it is just bad. It's sad. It's the worst that's out there. And frankly, I don't think Apple takes enough of a beating for how bad and how far behind they are. The launch of iOS 18, the new iPhones, supposedly brought AI features, but again, sort of sad sack of nothingness. And so I think having ChatGPT launch with macOS allows Apple to say, like, hey, the spicy guys, the ones that everybody's interested in, are interested in us. It sort of fluffs their feathers a little bit. A few months ago, there were rumors as well that Apple wanted to buy Perplexity or Mistral, which are both AI companies. They didn't maybe want to pay out for sort of a second and third place participant, and maybe that wouldn't have looked super good for them either. So getting ChatGPT Atlas on Mac first is probably a win. They can make the argument that AI runs better here than elsewhere. And it could be hinting at some shared DNA that could come into play later. We, of course, know that Johnny Ive, who helped define Apple's look and feel, has been working with OpenAI on a hardware design product. His company was acquired by OpenAI not so long ago. So there could be some paths which sort of might help these two companies get entangled in a more meaningful way as we go forward. Now, stepping back from just the Apple and OpenAI piece and the Microsoft and OpenAI piece, I do think there's a bigger conversation around what is happening in big tech. And it's not just about browsers. Google is really trying to make this push to have Gemini baked into Chrome and baked into Android. Microsoft has Copilot in Edge and also baked into the Windows operating system. OpenAI is finally able to step out of the app experience and step out of the website experience and is now its own browser. I think the browser wars aren't really going to be about search anymore. They're going to be about who controls the AI that sits between you and the internet and ultimately owns your data. Because again, data is where money really happens. So Atlas isn't just a tool, it's an interface that's going to allow ChatGPT to know more about you, sell more about you, and advertise more to you. And I think it's also a move that gets ChatGPT closer to the destiny of all of these AI tools, which is as a device operating system. I've said before, ChatGPT has the longest road to go to get there, simply because it doesn't have that hardware platform to work from. I think Google has the best position to win. They've got the AI chops, they've got the hardware chops, they've got the operating system chops, they've got the browser chops, and they've got the search chops to bring this all together. And OpenAI in some ways is playing catch up, and this might be a part of how that works for them. We've predicted that the end state of digital will be devices that are really powered by these chat experiences and these AIs, where most of what you do today through different apps, through different websites, is going to be pulled into these interfaces where you're just interacting with text or spoken word. If I want to ask what's important in my inbox today, if I want to know what my bank balance is, if I want to know what a recent bank transaction was, if I want to have a quick YouTube video break and watch something funny or play a particular song on Spotify, I really don't need to go into those apps. I can simply interact with ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever the tool of choice is. I'm going to wrap up there, and hopefully that helps you understand why the Mac piece is maybe a bigger piece of news than a lot of people are talking about. ChatGPT Atlas launching on Mac again just has some strangeness to it until you maybe see how this works to Apple's favor, works to ChatGPT's favor. Again, I think it says a lot about the Microsoft partnership and maybe Microsoft's ambitions for itself as an AI company, and OpenAI's maybe increasingly viewing Windows as a dead end for it. Everyone ultimately is fighting for control over your next interface. Right now it's the browser, and tomorrow it'll be your operating system. So we'll keep you updated on this and offer some hopefully interesting and helpful perspectives. I think an actionable takeaway, if you are in the digital marketing space, is to begin to look at what do you do when these AIs are really a marketplace and the start and stop of most user interactions? You've got to think about your website as a resource for AI agents. You have to think about the accessibility of your content to these AI browsers, which are lifting material and interactions from your site and making them available to a user in their own interfaces. And I think you also have to think about a future where you really are viewing the website more as a feed or an API connector to these different AI tools. And so lots of technical things to be thinking about. You can test your website today in agentic experiences to get a sense for how they navigate, and we can help with understanding where you rank in particular prompt responses right now, and maybe again be working on some of your AI SEO efforts so that you can be actually advancing and improving your positioning and reputation within these AIs for that day when people aren't leaving Atlas or another AI browser. That's it for now. We'll be back with some more analysis and insights. Bye, everyone.